There's a new op-ed about the continued fallout at the Washington Post, and I got some thoughts. Opinion: the wrong culprit in the controversy at the Washington Post. Counterpoint: it's not. This is a piece that's in defense of the UK media, which is not entirely surprising given that the author, James Ball, is a journalist and author that has worked on both sides of the pond, but is currently the president of the UK's Media Society. That is not a gotcha. That is information included in this Politico article, and I think it's really important context. It doesn't sully any of his prior work, but it does give you some idea for the motivations of writing this kind of piece, which obviously you don't want people to think that the UK media accepts these unethical practices anymore. But in order to do so, it relies on a very narrow lens into what's happened in the UK media, ignoring everything that's come since. This piece relies on the same kind of there were some bad eggs a while ago, but that's all been fixed, that we've seen outlets like News Corp, Murdoch, rely on as well. It also completely ignores the role that Lewis played going to work for News Corp during the phone hacking scandal. Lewis has been accused in high court documents over the years of overseeing a mass deletion of emails to help protect Murdoch and other higher ups. But it's so weird because in one breath, the argument is that yes, Lewis and Wynette paid to get this government database that otherwise they couldn't get because the whistleblower was refusing to hand it over without money. And the argument being that the information that was exposed is more important than maybe how it was obtained. Then if you place that argument that the UK media has changed dramatically since 2011 and the phone hacking scandals, in what way? Recommendations of changes in Levinson 1 were ignored, thrown out by Prime Minister David Cameron. And there was never a part 2, which was famously going to look into police misconduct colluding with journalists. I can't pull it up right now, but you can search for it. Rebecca Brooks says, yes, of course we pay police for information. And then Andy Coulson is like, well, within the law. And they're like, that's illegal. That is not to say that American media is perfect, but I don't know anyone who is saying that. He includes the argument that since the UK media broke the story on the phone hacking, serves as evidence that it wasn't accepted as a norm of the UK. No, it doesn't. It was broken by The Guardian, which is an independent paper. It's not in the Royal Rota. It doesn't have the same pressures to maintain those relationships. We have another former Guardian journalist, Emily Bell, in David Folkenflick's piece from last week about this Washington Post scandal, saying that the problem is there is more of an emphasis on protecting relationships than there is holding powerful institutions in check. Let's look more recently at the statement from the BPPA, which is the British Press Photographers Association. This was a statement they put out after the kill notice was issued by agencies over the photo of Catherine, the Princess of Wales, for Mothering Sunday. And they put in bold italics, the press must take care not to publish inaccurate or misleading or distorted information or images, including headlines not supported by the text. That is pulled from the editor's code of practice. And I'm going to surmise that it's not just a call on this particular issue, but on the journalism writ large that we see out of the UK media. And no, of course, it's not all bad. Of course, there are good journalists. We also now know from people like Prince Harry, with cases working their way through the UK court systems, that they allege that this behavior, this unethical journalistic practices, this phone hacking, all of it was not just news of the world. But do we ever see these papers truly write about the conflict of interest they have in covering people that are suing them? Or op-eds from serious papers like The Telegraph from Piers Morgan's wife, or Camilla Parker Bowles' friend, that could give us a larger context for why they are pushing a certain narrative? No, we do not. I think Bell does a lot of really good work, but I don't think this opinion piece is it. I think if your argument can only stand on the legs of a particular incident from '02 to '04, ignoring everything that's come since, turning this into a, well, American media is bad too, is just, it's not the argument. It's not the argument. Lewis's past work is not the only issue with the Washington Post hiring him, but it's one of the issues. Not to mention the fact that he tried to kill stories about himself from his paper that he now runs, which I'm not sure where that plays into the ethics argument, but it doesn't make its way into this opinion piece.